together. So I'm just going to make one colorway. So we have my base set, and you're going to put your 2 fabrics on top. And then I have my Quilter's Magic Wand. And if you don't have one of these, you really need to have that to mark it. So this has a really light line down the middle. You may or may not be able to see that. I put that light line on each point. I have a light pencil, a light marking. I marked a line on each side. And then before I did that, I actually pinned my blocks on top, right sides together. And then I marked them, and then I already went ahead and sewed on each of those marked lines. You can see my sewing on the back. Okay, then I'm going to take and remove those pins. Take my ruler. And I love these Quilter Select rulers. You'll see I have also the Quilter Select cutting mat. Love each of them. And I'm going to cut that. Oops, it didn't cut all the way through. Okay, that's a terrific demo. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to press each of those away from the larger triangle. So you can see that on each side, and you'll press both of those. And I don't need to put my flatter or breast press on those yet. And then to make the next step, you'll take each of your smaller squares, and I'm going to pin those in place. And I do pin each side just to make sure that they're sitting in the correct position. And I would take the other one and do the exact same thing. And then I'm going to take my magic wand, put it right matching up the point on each of that square, marking my line on each side, and then I'm going to just sew on top of that line. And when you're doing all 4, you can actually mark all of them at once and sew them at once, and it saves you a little bit of time. Okay, and then you're just going to cut right down the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to press that open, and there's your flying geese. Isn't that terrific? But we're not done yet because they aren't cut to size. They're going to be oversized, and that's good because otherwise they might be a little wonky. So all of our blocks are always based on a 4.5-inch unfinished square, either 4.5 by 4.5, but these are going to be 2.5 by 4.5. So this is where Deb Tucker's wing clipper comes in. So you can either take a 4.5-inch by 4.5-inch square, or I have a 6.5-inch square, and I would then have to line my 4.5 by 2.5-inch up and cut it this way, making sure that I have a 1/4 inch here and using that diagonal line. So you have to be very careful about getting your 1/4 inch here where your seam allowance is, and that diagonal line in your 4.5-inch by 2.5-inch. So it's a little bit trickier, but you can do it that way. So cutting your first cut here and then turning it and then doing your second cut the other direction. With the wing clipper, this is set up for it. So this is the Deb Tucker's wing clipper. This is what comes with the ruler. And what's really nice in here is they have a guide for all of these cuts. So if you want a finished size 2.5 by 4.5, these are the cuts of your large square and your small square, which is what we actually cut. It shows you the starting, which we started with, and how we finished it. And then it shows you how you finish your blocks, and it actually shows you the setup here. So it's also set up for right-handed quilters and left-handed quilters. And as you can see, I'm right-handed. So when I'm doing my cutting, I'm setting up for a right-handed quilter. So I'm just going to be laying my wing clipper out on my, laying out my wing clipper and my block and laying it down. And so I'm right-handed, so I'm going to lay it out here. I'm going to lay out my 4.5 by my 2.5 and laying it on my block. And you can see right here, and I'll outline it with my pen so you can see it, but right here is my intersection. So here's my 4.5 inch outline right here, and there's my 2.5, and there's my vertical right in the line with my vertical. So it makes my cutting very, very easy. And I'm going to just kind of stand up. It's a little easier to cut when I'm standing. And I just hold my block down like this, cut here, and cut across here. And then I would just turn it and then cut my 4.5 by 2.5 inch to square it up this direction. But I don't have any guessing then on what my block should look like. It's absolutely perfect. So that makes it really, really nice, very easy. So wing clipper for me is a way to go because there's so many flying geese in the block. But of course, like I said, you can use a square up ruler. It takes a little bit more guessing, but you can mark it with marking tape. And I do use marking tape if I need to. You can take some tape and put it on your square up ruler and just mark your 2.5 and 4.5 inch if you'd like to go that direction.